Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today is day 2 of Narnia week, and if you watched my previous video you will have seen me read the first chapter of The Magician's Nephew, and today we are going to be reading the first chapter of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Obviously they're all by C.S. Lewis. I'm so excited to start, but first, before we do any reading, I am going to give you guys some kind of fun little tidbits and facts that I brought up in the first video. So here we go. I am going to be reading from the Companion to Narnia. And these are going to be some fun facts about the reading order, because I mentioned that in my first book or first reading video of this series. So if you go back and watch that, you'll know what I'm talking about. So first, we're going to talk about the reading order. And in my previous video, I had mentioned one of the reading orders. There's like 4 different ones that this book talks about. And today I'm going to be talking about the other 3 because um, let's just say that today's book is the beginning of all of those other reading orders. So here we go. So the first order that I had talked about yesterday, the one that put The Magician's Nephew as the first book in the series, that one was called the chronological order. And that one goes in order of the, oh, sorry, almost knocked my camera over. It's okay. That one goes in order of like the timeline. But these 3 different ones go in a very interesting way. And as I go throughout the series, I'll be talking about different reading orders that I myself have thought of. Well, there's only like 2, but I'm excited to share them. But that last reading order, or like the reading order that I want to share with you guys that I have thought of myself, kind of excited to share because it's one that I thought up, and I'll be sharing that at the very end. So if you want to find out what that reading order is that I came up with, yeah, follow along in this daily series. I'm going to be doing a video a day, which is exciting and kind of nerve-wracking. So I've got to make sure I film these videos pretty quickly so that way I can just drop them day by day. Also, get yourself a fun drink. I have Lollipop Strawberry Vanilla and my water. So the first reading order that I wanted to talk about today, this is different from the one yesterday, obviously. So one of the reading orders that they mention in this book is the order by year of first publication, the canonical order, if you will. Excuse me. Before 1994, there was only one reading order, what scholars have come to call the canonical reading order, or the canonical order. The order in which the chronicles were first published, and their spines, dust jackets, and covers were numbered accordingly, and I actually have seen these before. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, published in 1950. Prince Caspian, or The Return to Narnia, published in 51. The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, published in 1952. The Silver Chair, published in 53. The Horse and His Boy, 54. The Magician's Nephew, 55. The Last Battle, 1956. And in the middle here, you see we have Prince Caspian, Voyage, and Silver Chair clumped into, together because they were written one after the other and released, I believe, one after the other. And this is also known as the Caspian Triad, or you could call it the trilogy, maybe. It is kind of interesting. It's a little bit of like a prominent reoccurring character, kind of just right smack dab in the middle. But that is the publishing reading order. And so it does mention here, although The Horse and His Boy was completed before The Silver Chair, the latter was published first in order to keep together the triad of books in which Caspian was a major character. So, interesting. And then the next order, which is known as the best reading order, the order by essential completion by Lewis himself. It is, let's see. Interesting. Okay. So the Companion in Narnia studies the Narniad. That's also what the whole Narnia series is called, in a slight adaptation of the canonical order, what I have called the order by essential completion. This order makes possible the reading of the book with the heart by attending to them in the order in which they came to Lewis's own heart and mind. So, like, the ones that, like, he, like, I believe as he wrote them, something like that, and as they came to him. This order also highlights the pivotal role of chapter 11 of The Horse and His Boy in giving Lewis the impetus, the or sorry, impetus, yes, to finish the rest of the Narniad and his own autobiography. So these are like the different times in his life in which the stories came to him, in which he wrote them. So the first section is called The Storyteller. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. He came to him, and he wrote it spring 1949. Prince Caspian was fall of 49. Voyage of the Dawn Treader was winter of 1950. And then next we go to what's called the pivotal story section, which is The Horse and His Boy. And then we have The Moral Educator, The Silver Chair, Magician's Nephew, and The Last Battle. And something that I forgot to note is that The Horse and His Boy came to him in spring 1950. The Silver Chair came to him in spring 1951. And then Magician's Nephew was fall of 51. And then The Last Battle was spring of 53. There is one other order in which the Chronicles might profitably or be profitably read, at least the last two or two of the books. When you read The Last Battle before you read The Magician's Nephew, you can see Lewis's great crafting at work, tying the two books carefully together. So the next order that they suggest is order by final completion by Lewis himself, the completional order, so to speak, which is Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, Prince Caspian, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, The Horse and His Boy, The Silver Chair, The Last Battle, and The Magician's Nephew. This is the only order in which the last battle is not last, which I think is kind of an interesting way to do it. However, I'm going to suggest something that a reading order at the end of Narnia week, by the way, in which I will explain why I think the last battle should not be read last. So I'm going to save it. And one other fun little fact that I'm going to share, because I'm going to be reading the first chapter of Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, is I'm going to talk a little bit about the adaptations. Now, yesterday I talked a little bit about the adaptation of The Magician's Nephew that is happening, which is very fascinating, I will say. Even though I do not want to watch it, I do not care for anything that Greta Gerwig puts out. I'm not going to rehash it. Just go and watch my tiny rant at the beginning of that video. But I do think it is fascinating that The Magician's Nephew is getting an adaptation, because in all of the times that Narnia has been adapted, I think Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe has gotten the most adaptations, and Prince Caspian has also gotten two adaptations as well. And then Voyage of the Dawn Treader has gotten a couple. Silver Chair has only been adapted once. Now, this is if you do not count the audio dramas from Focus on the Family, which I highly recommend because those do all of the books, and it is a good way to hear a dramatized retelling of them. So it's pretty fun. And because, of course, The Last Battle has also not been adapted. But I would also suggest another good way to see all of these great stories play out, because they are currently also being adapted for the theater by this theater company called the Logos Theater. I think they're also taking it on tour, so they're not just like in. I think they're based in South Carolina. Don't quote me on that, but I would highly recommend them too. I wish that I could see the productions, but obviously I do not have the funds to go to, like across the country to see these plays, unfortunately. Um, Maybe Logos Theater, if you're watching, please, please, I am begging you. I don't have the money to travel to go see your play, but I will pay to watch recordings on streaming. Please, please let them be available. I've seen many of your other plays and musicals be available on your site for streaming. Please make Narnia available for streaming, because I am desperate. I do not know when or if I will ever be able to see, even one of your productions. So please, I'm begging you. Anybody who's also watching this who knows about this theater, go and like, don't bully them, but go and be like, go like, if we create a demand for it, for them to put them on demand, sign the petition, you know? I don't have a petition, but create a petition. I don't know. So anyway, but yeah. So, besides audio dramas and live theater, though, obviously we have the Disney adaptations and also the 20th Century Fox ones. Those I'm not really going to talk about because I don't want to have like a whole video about that. Maybe I will. Maybe I should. You know what? That's going to be another like kind of longer form video that I should do. Put a pin in that. It's not going to be for Narnia week. But I do want to do a longer form video about the different adaptations of Narnia. So I think I'll put a pin in that so that way I don't, make this video go on longer than it has to. But I do want to quickly shout out, in my opinion, the best adaptation, at least for the screen, of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So even though I love the Disney one, that one is so close to my heart. And just like my childhood, I watched it like so many times in the theater as a kid. My personal favorite, the one that sticks closest to the book and just gives me just all of the nostalgia that I absolutely love, is the BBC adaptation from the 80s. My absolute favorite. I'm also going to be showing the DVDs for the other ones as I get to those books. But this was so good. They adapted 4 of the Chronicles of Narnia books, and I think that they did a good job, even though I will say super cheesy. People who have seen them, those beaver costumes, y'all. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, and also these are available on DVD. Obviously, there's a whole like DVD like box set thing, you know. And so you can get these. I think I got these at like half price books or something. And there's many that are available for purchase on like eBay. I think Amazon might have them. I don't know. Or if you just want to watch them for free, they are available here on YouTube. So if you go down to the description below, I'm going to link the video where you can watch all of this, the Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe. And then in the subsequent videos in Narnia Week, like for example for Prince Caspian, I will include the link to the adaptation of Prince Caspian. But that's, that's not tomorrow's video, but that's going to be a little bit down the road. All right, making sure I'm drinking enough water because the last time I did a couple of videos filmed a few videos in a row, I got sick. I'm not doing that again. So yeah, which I am filming this the same day as I filmed The Magician's Nephew. This is what you do for content, is you film in bulk and then you release them one after the other. So anyway, that's kind of all my fun little facts and things. I hope you guys enjoy these little details. But anyway, without further ado, here is chapter 1 of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. Chapter 1. Lucy looks into a wardrobe. There once were 4 children whose names were Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy. This is a story about something that happened to them when they were sent away from London during the war because of the air raids. They were sent to the house of an old professor who lived in the heart of the country, 10 miles from the nearest railway station and 2 miles from the nearest post office. He had no wife, and he lived in a large house with a housekeeper called Mrs. Macready and 3 servants. Their names were Ivy, Margaret, and Betty, but they do not come into the story much. He himself was a very old man with shaggy white hair, which grew over most of his face as well as on his head, and they liked him almost at once. But on the first evening, when he came out to meet them at the front door, he was so odd looking that Lucy, who was the youngest, was a little afraid of him, and Edmund, who was the next youngest, wanted to laugh and had to keep on pretending he was blowing his nose to hide it. As soon as they had said good night to the professor and gone upstairs on the first night, the boys came into the girls' room and they all talked it over. "We've fallen on our feet, and no mistake," said Peter. "This is going to be perfectly splendid. That old chap will let us do anything we like." "I think he's an old dear," said Susan. "Oh, come off it," said Edmund, who was tired and pretending not to be tired, which always made him bad tempered. Don't go on talking like that. Like what? Said Susan. And anyway, it's time you were in bed. Trying to talk like mother, said Edmund. And who are you to say when I'm to go to bed? Go to bed yourself. Hadn't we better all go to bed? Said Lucy. There's sure to be a row if we're heard talking here. No, there won't, said Peter. I tell you, this is the sort of house where no one's going to mind what we do. Anyway, they won't hear us. It's about 10 minutes' walk from here down to that dining room, and any amount of stairs and passages in between. What's that noise? Said Lucy suddenly. It was a far larger house than she had ever been in before, and the thought of all those long passages and rows of doors leading into empty rooms was beginning to make her feel a little creepy. It's only a bird, silly, said Edmund. It's an owl, said Peter. This is going to be a wonderful place for birds. I shall go to bed now. I say, let's go and explore tomorrow. You might find anything in a place like this. Did you see those mountains as we came along? And the woods? There might be eagles. There might be stags. There'll be hawks. Badgers, said Lucy. Foxes, said Edmund. And rabbits, said Susan. But when next morning came, there was a steady rain falling, so thick that when you looked out of the window, you could neither see the mountains, nor the woods, nor even the stream in the garden. Of course it would be raining, said Edmund. They had just finished their breakfast with the professor, and were upstairs in the room he had set apart for them, a long, low room with 2 windows looking out in one direction, and 2 in the other. Do stop grumbling, Ed, said Susan. 10 to 1, it'll clear up in an hour or so, and in the meantime we're pretty well off. There's a wireless, and lots of books. Not for me, said Peter. I'm going to explore the house. Everyone agreed to this, and that was how the adventures began. It was the sort of house that you never seemed to come to the end of, and it was full of unexpected places. The first few doors they tried led only into spare rooms, as everyone had expected they would, but soon they came to a very long room full of pictures, and there they found a suit of armor, and after that was a room all hung with green, with a harp in one corner. Then came 3 steps down and 5 steps up, and then a kind of little upstairs hall, and a door that led out onto a balcony, and then a whole series of rooms that led into each other and were lined with books, most of them very old books, and some bigger than a Bible in a church. And shortly after that, they looked into a room that was quite empty except for one big wardrobe, the sort that has a looking glass in the door. There was nothing else in the room at all, except a dead blue bottle on the window sill. Nothing there, said Peter, and they all trooped out, all except Lucy. She stayed behind because she thought it would be worthwhile trying the door of the wardrobe, even though she felt almost sure it would be locked. To her surprise, it opened quite easily, and 2 mothballs dropped out. Looking into the inside, she saw several coats hanging up, mostly long fur coats. There was nothing Lucy liked so much as the smell and feel of fur. She immediately stepped into the wardrobe and got in among the coats, and rubbed her face against them, leaving the door open, of course, because she knew that it is very foolish to shut oneself up into any wardrobe. Soon she went further in, and found that there was a second row of coats, hanging up behind the first one. It was almost quite dark in there, and she kept her arms stretched out in front of her so as not to bump her face into the back of the wardrobe. She took a step further in, then 2 or 3 steps, always expecting to feel woodwork against the tips of her fingers, but she could not feel it. This must be a simply enormous wardrobe, thought Lucy, going still further in, and pushing the soft folds of the coats aside to make room for her. Then she noticed that there was something crunching under her feet. I wonder, is that more mothballs? She thought, stooping down to feel it with her hand. But instead of feeling the hard, smooth wood of the floor of the wardrobe, she felt something soft and powdery and extremely cold. This is very strange, she said, and went on to a step or 2 further. Next moment she found what was rubbing against her face and hands was no longer soft fur, but something hard and rough and even prickly. Why, it is just the branches of trees, exclaimed Lucy. And then she saw that there was a light ahead of her, not a few inches away where the back of the wardrobe ought to have been, but a long way off. Something cold and soft was falling on her. A moment later, she found that she was standing in the middle of a wood at night time, with snow under her feet and snowflakes falling through the air. Lucy felt a little frightened, but she felt very inquisitive and excited about her as well. She looked back over her shoulder, and there, between the dark tree trunks, she could still see the open doorway of the wardrobe, and even catch a glimpse of the empty room from which she had set out. She had, of course, left the door open, for she knew that it is very silly to shut oneself up into a wardrobe. It seemed to be still daylight there. I can always get back if anything goes wrong, thought Lucy. She began to walk forward, crunch, crunch, over the snow, and through the wood toward the other light. In about 10 minutes she reached it, and found it was a lamp post. As she stood looking at it, wondering why there was a lamp post in the middle of the wood, and wondering what to do next, she heard a pitter-patter of feet coming toward her, and soon after that a very strange person stepped out from among the trees and into the light of the lamp post. He was only a little taller than Lucy herself, and he carried over his head an umbrella, white with snow. From the waist upward he was like a man, but his legs were shaped like a goat's. The hair on them was glossy black, and instead of feet he had goat's hooves. He also had a tail. But Lucy did not notice this at first because it was neatly caught up over the arm that held the umbrella, so as to keep it from trailing in the snow. He had a red woolen muffler round his neck, and his skin was rather reddish too. He had a strange but pleasant little face, with a short pointed beard and curly hair, and out of the hair were stuck two horns, one on each side of his forehead. One of his hands, as I have said, held the umbrella. In the other arm he carried several brown paper parcels. What with the parcels and the snow, it looked just as if he had been doing his Christmas shopping. He was a fawn, and when he saw Lucy he gave such a start of surprise that he dropped all of his parcels. "Goodness gracious me!" exclaimed the fawn. Alrighty, I hope you guys enjoyed that reading. I'm really, really enjoying doing this, especially like reading the characters' voices and just, yeah, it's so exciting. So I can't wait for you guys to join me again tomorrow for day 3 of Narnia Week. And in that video, I will be introducing you guys to one of my proposed reading orders. And it actually is not even like how you should read the whole series, but it pertains to just this one book in particular, including this one. But I'm going to save it for tomorrow because it mainly has to do with this other book. So come back tomorrow for a surprise kind of niche reading order that I have for you guys that I have actually experimented with myself. And yeah, I'm excited to, introduce it to you guys. So, anyway, you guys have a lovely, beautiful day. God bless. And thank you so much for watching.